So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 64554633728, and I wanted to give my thoughts on a YouTuber from the channel Jayoe Nation, I believe, who was responding to a video put out by Advchina from Matt and Winston, where they basically said that China hates all its ethnic minorities and, it wants to get rid of them. It doesn't like them at all. Basically, this stems from, two of these videos, and I guess I'll get into that in a moment. As usual, I am Earthling, yada yada yada, and I've had a couple of instances with subscribers, so let me make it really clear. I'm an atheist. I am very liberal. I am an ex-army reservist. I have a couple degrees. I got a scholarship a long time ago, and I take care of my uncle who has dementia. So anyway, with respect to Jayoe Nation, this is a guy who lives in China. He's married to a Chinese woman, and he has a Chinese kid, which is pretty much like the YouTubers who jointly are Advchina and Lao86 as an individual and Sipenzede as an individual. They also are married to Chinese women, and I believe they also have kids as well. Of course, recently, Lao86 and what's the guy's name? Sipenzede, Matt and Winston, they left China maybe a couple of years ago, and they have become increasingly negative about China, but they would say it's about the CCP party. Whereas Jayoe Nation, this guy still lives in China. But he is a completely different guy to these other two guys. He is always smiling. Well, throughout his videos, he's smiling about one thing or another. Most of the time, he might be talking to various people that come up to him in the street. He might be saying hi to people. He might be making jokes. He's laughing. This is a really positive guy. I don't know, maybe he has, a different upbringing, a different background to these other two guys. Sipenzede is from South Africa. He is a pretty jaded guy. He rarely smiles. He's an even-tempered guy, but rarely smiles. The other guy, Matt, I believe, he, is not as serious as Winston, but yeah, collectively, having left China, he returned to his native United States, brought Winston along. They both live in the United States now, and they pretty much seem to be in lockstep with the Conservative Party on a number of issues with respect to China. I don't think that they put out almost anything positive about China anymore. It's usually just video after video after video after video being negative, supposedly about the Communist Party. But seeing as I'm sure many people in China are in favor of their party, seeing as China has improved in many years, and what the news that they hear is from the Communist Party. I don't know how they make that distinction between the Communist Party so much and China, when most Chinese people really back what their country is telling them, in the same way that most Americans probably back the news that they hear from their free news media about their country. So anyway, this guy Jayoe Nation, he was saying Well, he was responding, as I said, essentially to what Matt and Winston were saying, and especially a particular piece in the video of what they were saying, that about how China hates its minorities. Um, I have to say that, given what Winston himself has said about this guy from Jayoe Nation, that he can't speak Chinese, that he basically just takes whatever the CCP puts out as gospel. So, yeah, I was a little bit concerned that perhaps this chap, Jayo, might not be able to back up what he was saying. Maybe he really, really doesn't speak Chinese. Even though I saw him speak to other people, there's subtitles in some parts of his videos where he is having a conversation. Maybe not like, about philosophy with a particular person, but there are videos where he's talking to someone, and maybe he could be faking it altogether. But there are other YouTubers present with him. I don't know if none of them can speak Chinese. Anyway, there's no controversy with him. It's just Winston insists that the guy can't speak Chinese, he can't read Chinese, doesn't know anything about Chinese. But anyway, but no, this guy from Jayoe Nation, I wish I could remember his name. Again, people don't be saying their names all the time regularly. But yeah, he put one example where he took a US dollar bill, for example, and he was like, there is nothing but English on this dollar bill note. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of Latin or something, but that's it. And then he picked up like a Chinese currency, RMB, and he's like, there's like Tibetan on here. There's, I don't know if it was Uyghur. There's a bunch of different minority languages on the note that indicate, or put on display the minorities in China. And from there, he went on to show or talk about the affirmative action that happens in China with respect to minorities, how they are given a helping hand in order to accomplish with respect to their education, with respect to maybe housing, with respect to the preservation of their culture. There are different areas, like in Tibet, for example. Of course, there's controversy in Tibet. But he went on to show that China was not hiding or destroying the culture of these minority groups. It was, if anything, putting the culture of these minority groups on display for people like himself to see when he went to visit these different areas, either with, representatives or on his own. And the thing about it as well is that Matt and Winston, on their conquering northern and southern China, I think, which does not sound cringeworthy itself. Really, two Caucasian guys are gonna have two videos about conquering China in any capacity. They cannot read the room, and any Chinese person who is saw the title to their videos and understood it, just that on that alone, I would hate somebody if it was something to do with me and they came to my country and were living there and had videos about conquering this or conquering that. That is disgusting. But basically, the guy went on to show that, and at the end, I wish he had said, he said conclusively, hey, yes, just because there is a genocide or there are problems in this particular area with respect to the Uyghurs who were there. And then he's like, I see Uyghur people. I eat at their stores. I eat their food. They're dressed in their traditional garb when I see them. And he does not live in the particular area where this stuff is happening with the Uyghurs. So obviously, Uyghurs are or have been allowed, if not in the present, in the past, to travel outside of their area. Otherwise, he wouldn't meet them. He wouldn't see them. He wouldn't be able to eat at their restaurants and so on. And he gave, a pretty convincing show and tell to completely well, not completely, in many, many ways, refute what Matt and Winston are saying, because they're essentially saying that the Chinese government hates minorities and wants to wipe them off of the map. He concedes the fact that, yes, the minorities are encouraged to learn Mandarin and be able to, speak and converse in Mandarin. But he gave the example where, when he went on trips to various different locations, he was therefore able to speak to the people because they could understand Mandarin. There was like a standardization of language across the country so that people would be able to communicate with each other and their lives would be easier and improved, rather than not being able to speak the standard language and not being able to take advantage of many, many different amenities and infrastructure and benefits all across China. He went on to talk about, I guess there was a maybe a conference or so in Alaska between America and China, the USA was mentioning something with respect to the Uyghurs, and one of the Chinese officials said that the US should stay out of China's internal affairs. And apparently that slogan is plastered on a lot of different products. And Matt and Winston are like, can you imagine how ridiculous that would be if, slogans that a politician or someone in the government said to another government were just all over the place? And he went on to show all of the different slogans throughout Donald Trump's presidency that have been plastered across all sorts of caps, t-shirts, handbags, whatever. It's exactly the same kind of thing. And the whole, it's really him. He cut to me to a very, very important point with that I've always frustrated with when I look at Matt and Winston and their videos, is that they can see all of these cringy, quote unquote, things in China, but they can't see it in America or any other country. And that has always really frustrated me. The comparisons that they would make between a country that per capita is relatively very poor still, as compared to the US or some other developed country. And I'm like, how can you not see that you're making a false equivalency between a country that is powerful because of its multitude of people and a country that is the richest country in the world with the largest military in the world? How can you not see that, you're comparing literally, not even apples to oranges, both of them are fruits. You're comparing, like, I don't know, different four-legged animals to each other, like a camel to a dog or something. It is just crazy, and I don't know. But he went into, what's the motive for this kind of thing? Well, obviously, the US wants to keep its position in the world. And it's to the US and European advantage and the West's, even though like Australia is not in the West, for example, it is to the West's benefit to keep China at a particular level, or even to reduce the strength, ability, the growth, the development of China. And people are seizing upon this opportunity where, with respect to the coronavirus, Matt and Winston were, constantly on a blame game. You look at what China did, look at what China did. Well, yes, look at what China did. There was the longest time where they were convinced that China was rife with coronavirus infections. They just did not believe that China had been able to control it. And obviously, there's no hint of anything like that now. And there's no admission that, hey, we were wrong about that. They were like, it is, as one of my subscribers, well, not a subscriber, maybe just somebody who looked at a video, like he said, when Matt and Winston were in China, riding around, it was kind of interesting to see what they were talking about, their take on different things in China. They, to see where they have come. I mean, even at that time, I could understand. I don't know why they couldn't understand that you're in a foreign country and you choose to point out the faults of that country. Yes, maybe you point out the great things, but flattery is never called like an even mix. When you flatter someone, it's not an even mix of good and bad, and you say, well, it's all even out. And you don't even have to flatter people. You just maybe don't mention the bad things. If you're at somebody's house, I don't know how you'd expect the person to take it if you start pointing out flaws in their home, in their family, in it's supposed to be a ordinary basic understanding of human nature, that when you go to someone's home, you don't point out their flaws. And even if you become part of the family, are you going to point out the flaws in your new family? It's insane how these guys went for so long and continue to go for so long, not realizing that if someone came to America to point out America's flaws, people say, get the hell out. I don't understand why they don't understand human nature. I don't. Except to say that sometimes you can see, their stuff leaks out. Their people might say their true nature sometimes leaks out. Anyway, video is long for me. Feel free to like, subscribe, dislike, comment, share, any of the things that you choose to do. At the same time, please do it with the kind of attitude that you'd like people to have if they were giving you feedback to your YouTube content. And I appreciate one of my ex subscribers for at least being civil in a way. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate everything, your views, your attention. Thank you. And have a good one. Peace.